Welcome. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Sally. How you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm excited. This is our fourth webinar in this series.
Number 4.
Thank you, Jeff, for joining me.
Always a pleasure.
This one, I really love the idea of just, there's probably not an organization that is not dealing with how to manage implementing AI, getting buy-in across various stakeholders. So I am excited about this topic.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I think it's one that a lot of people will relate to.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started here in 3 minutes. So thank you for joining us. I'm Sally Hurley with VIP Desk. I'm joined with my coworker, peer here, Jeff Cramp, our Chief AI Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks for joining, everyone. I'm just going to give it another 2 minutes before we get going. Joining us live, which is pretty exciting. Looking forward to our conversation, Jeff.
Yeah, I always like these. Super enjoyable, super fascinating.
I can't wait to look back on this 10 years from now. We'll be like, remember when we were talking about implementing AI?
We should totally add that to our calendar for every 5-year rewatch.
Yeah.
I think it would be quite amazing.
May 29th, 2035.
Oh, it'll be a different world, I think.
Yes.
That sounds like the future.
Future is here.
Future's now, that's for sure.
Yes. Okay, we're down to 1 minute. Before we start, welcome everyone. I'm Sally Hurley with VIP Desk. I'm joined with Jeff Cramp, our Chief AI Officer. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Sally. Good morning, everyone. Excited to have the talk today.
Excited to talk. This is our fourth in our 4-part series on AI. And this one, we're going to be talking about selling this internally. Okay. About to get started. Give it just a few more seconds.
And make sure everybody gets in here, okay?
Yep. Okay.
All right.
Ready, Jeff? Let's do this.
Ready. Let's do it.
That's great. Well, welcome everybody. Again, I am Sally Hurley, VIP Desk CEO, and I'm joined today by Jeff Cramp, our Chief AI Officer. Thank you, Jeff, and good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Excited. This is our part 4 in our webinar series about AI implementations. And today we're going to be talking about selling AI internally and getting buy-in across this various stakeholders, from the teams themselves to executive leadership. So we're going to jump right into this. I think just in terms of context of who we are, Jeff and I have been working together for many, many years. VIP Desk provides outsourced customer service over the last 15 years. And over the last 9 months, we've been working with clients to implement AI solutions that help them automate the routine customer interactions. And also we help them with specialty rules for AI to manage those programs. And then, of course, fabulous people, because our background in luxury and elevated service, we still think that that's an important piece of the equation. But just to put it in context, that today we're talking about, it's through our lens of a customer service organization and customer experiences. So we will touch on AI in general, but this is the lens through which we're going to be sharing today. So our agenda is we're going to talk about the psychology of change, creating a cross-functional AI task force, tailoring messaging for stakeholders, upskilling our workforces, celebrating quick wins, avoiding pitfalls if we can, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. All right, Jeff, what do you think? Ready?
I think that sounds exciting. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. Okay, let's talk about the psychology of change.
Awesome. So yeah, why you get resistance in an organization when you want to change? Well, I think the first one's obvious. No one likes change, or few embrace it because it is sometimes scary. But with AI, this is one thing you're hearing everywhere in the news, is fear of job loss, right? So AI is going to take all of our jobs, and that's going to be it. And so I think people are reading that, they're hearing that, they're big glamorous headlines. So that's going to be in the organization in general. So I think addressing that and being transparent, communicating will help alleviate that. Past automation failures is another thing that people, they tend to apply the past to the now. And people have been trying to automate for decades in various ways. And they've not been great. There has been some successes here and there with how you can do it. But it's a lot of guesswork, and it's a lot of, unless you have a very tight logic around what's happening in your organization, it's very hard to do that. But that has changed with Gen AI. So it is a different ball game, and people shouldn't apply, they should learn from the mistakes of the past, but they shouldn't apply the same pessimism towards the change that AI is coming, because it's pretty remarkable what it's doing and what it can do, and how it overcomes a lot of those barriers that we've seen historically. And then I think the other thing is the lack of understanding of AI rules. Like, AI is, for many, a black box, right? It's a black box that's going to do everything automatically. It's going to be a little thing that sits in the middle of the office and just does everybody's job. But it's not the case. There's so many rules that come with that. It does need to be maintained. It's not self-sufficient, unlike the movies have told us. And so you have various roles, from just general QA, like you do in the organization now, to training the model, making sure it's on brand, making sure it knows the current knowledge, the future knowledge that's coming, and its behaviors and integrations, and so much more. So there's a lot of opportunity with AI, and a lot of interesting and really, I think, diverse work that can come with that I don't think people see.
Yeah, I mean, you've said it, nobody likes change, but to be transparent, this is what's happening, right? You can't deny that this is widespread and changing everything. And so to be transparent about it, be honest about limitations that may come with this, use stories and data, but engage people early. I would say one example of this could be ChatGPT has a Teams version, so you can implement it inside of an organization where you're sharing. I'll give you a great example for customer service. You can create your own customer profile. Let's say you sell hair products. You could create a persona inside of ChatGPT that you could then ask, what do you think of this policy or process? You can get a lot of feedback internally and get people engaged and start to get comfortable and really see the mind-blowing benefits of being able to use ChatGPT or other like tools. So, right. Being honest, being transparent, getting people involved and excited so they themselves can see the benefit internally as you look at implementing across the organization.
Yeah, I think having the conversation is key. Get everyone just to be open about their thoughts about it, trying it, exploring it. I wouldn't know about contacting hair product companies, so that's I might not be much help there, but I think it's really important to just like dive in and have that conversation, and that transparency is key.
That's hilarious. Okay, so the drivers for change, there could be many, but let's start with the team internally, right? If you are a customer experience team member, you might be wanting to leverage AI to address different things from seasonality to spikes to languages to coverage to help you manage a budget you've been given. On the executive side, they're probably looking at risk and cost savings and things like that. So the two audiences could be interested in implementing AI solutions, but looking to those could be the reasons for each of those trying to sell to each other. And then, of course, customers, even if nobody wants to implement AI, the customers are going to tell us what they want. So there's pressure mounting. Customers want things faster. They want increases in empathy and compassion and kindness, right? Don't we all need that right now? So, the drivers for change can be a lot of factors. It could also be, like in our case, it's just clients, right? Jeff, it's
Yep. No, it's 1,000%.
Right.
Like, our clients are facing costs, right? The world is changing. There's tariffs, there's various cost constraints, and they still want to provide amazing service, but they are having to tighten the belts a little bit. And so how do you do that while still maintaining that level of quality support?
Right. So let's talk about creating a cross-functional task force. The more people, you have a ton of people getting involved, but I think in this case, it's critical. So, who should be involved? Some executive owner. You're obviously, if we're talking about customer experience operations, you need somebody who leads that to be, probably they are the leader of it, but technology needs to be present. Somebody that handles legal and compliance, products and services, your HR, people and culture team, and of course your marketing and branding. You need a buy-in across everyone. And one way to do that is to have representation, especially right now when things are so new, so that there's open communication, open expectations, and you don't waste time, right? Nobody wants to waste time having you all agree and then it gets stuck because compliance doesn't agree, or your finance team, or your, just all facets being involved from day one will be helpful.
Yeah, I think an important way to look at this is people tend to think of AI, it's like, oh, it's just a tech platform or it's just a tech world. Where this is a pretty monumental shift in businesses. And so like if you were doing something that would affect your business across department, across everything, including the perception of the business, you'd want buy-in from everybody. So I think that that's really important, is to look at this as a business shift, not just we're going to roll out like a new channel or some new fancy tech product. This is pretty powerful and pretty impactful. And I think when you have this task force, it's important to have a charter to understand what is the goals of the organization, making sure that everybody's aligned on the brand and what your customer service goals are. And that's the perspective that we come from. And then how do you measure that? So you're going to have this task force, you're going to go out and do things. Like at the end of the month, you're going to be like, that felt great. No, you need a way to measure it, right? And so what are those metrics? What defines success? You need to map that out and what makes sense from the business perspective. Like in the customer service world, did your CSAT go down? Did it go up? Was that successful? Like, did you want to just maintain if you're already sitting at a high CSAT rate? How many people you helped? Did you expand your hours to 24/7? That kind of thing. These are all things that AI can help with. And I think the task force should be on board and agreeing with what those successful metrics are. Shared accountability across departments. So because this is across all departments, and if you have success in one, you want to make sure that is shared and passed over to the other departments, but that there's owners across each department, and make sure everybody's on board and taking full advantage of the resources that are available that you've put together. And then lastly, and then this is really important, is that you've got guardrails in place. Like what's allowed and what's not allowed? What tools? Can you just go to the internet and find some random AI service and pump up your entire proprietary information about the company and just drop it in there? No, I think you have to have buy-in, and we talked about tech and compliance there. What tools are secure? What tools are meeting the compliance needs of the organization? Making sure that you're not learning on that data. Like you don't want that to become part of the next latest and greatest model as your internal budgeting or something that you wouldn't want necessarily out there. And so that list and those guardrails are very key in making sure everyone signs off on these are the tools that you're using and this is what they can do. And if it's not something you can control, that you're defining what those settings have to be set and maybe some way to validate that. So that's really important. But that charter will help making sure that you've got the task force with their goals in place, and then a way to sort of keep everybody focused, on point, compliant, and with the same sort of success metrics at the end of the initiative.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about messaging to the various stakeholders. So if you're going to be talking to the C-suite and thinking about what they're going to want to hear, there's going to be a lot of interest around the ROI and the cost savings, scalability in the competitive advantage. They probably are going to want to hear how risk is being managed, and then how this is all being positioned as part of the overall organization's long-term strategy. I think likely in most organizations, the C-suite's already pushing for this. We're really managing expectations. Well, I would say we could even add customers to this, but one of the biggest groups is actually your frontline customer service agents, or people where you're automating work that has historically been done by people. So I think, we keep saying be transparent, but also, to frame it, it's not always going to replace. It could make their workload more efficient, improve the quality of the work they're doing, support the work that they're actually doing, making it possible for them to focus their human skills where human skills are needed, with more complex and more empathy type interactions. And of course, working with them on opportunities for them to gain new skills in this world, because somebody has to run these tools. So, if in the past you had all the knowledge, like let's say you're a trainer, you might just be the perfect person to be the knowledge base builder for your AI solutions for customer service, as an example.
Yeah, exactly. And then you want to look at supporting departments. So of course we deal with customer service a lot, but this is something that's affecting the whole organization, as we said. So trying to get everyone to buy in, everybody to embrace their Gen AI for their departments. They should expect mistakes. If they're not on the front lines and they're not seeing what's going on, they may try a couple of things and go like, that didn't really work. This is a new technology and it is remarkable, but with anything, there is opportunity for mistakes, but there's way more wins. And so really having that positive perspective around the whole thing and having patience. This is new, this is big, this is different. It takes a little bit of time. And so be patient with yourself. I think that's important. Your colleagues, your other departments, because this is a different mindset, a different world. And I think lastly, and we did touch on this before, and this is a big thing because it's one of our core values, is be transparent about what AI will do and what it can do and what your goals are of an organization, but also what it won't do. Like people have very interesting ideas of what is happening in the background with AI. Right now, there isn't really like an understanding. It's a really good communicator and it can look up stuff and know stuff, but maybe be transparent too. Like at this time, we don't expect it to do this, or we know it can't do this. And then lastly, of course, success. And so if you're transparent about all of those, you're setting yourself up for success across the board.
Yeah, I mean, those are great points. And I think, upskilling is probably the word of the moment, I think, in all organizations. And in all honesty, we have work to do across our organization. We've been very focused on AI in terms of the customer experience for our clients. But if I think about internally, you know, what is coming across departments and what are we all doing to identify opportunities for reskilling or gaining new skills, identifying those human and very valuable human traits in order to map a future for your team members. So it's not just about replacing people with AI. It's about what are those new roles of the future? How are they evolving? Because you've got this amazing workforce and they've got that brand and customer expertise, and that's very valuable. And I think you said it, Jeff, there's a lot of limitations still in terms of, kind of the very essence of a quality experience that you just don't want to throw out. So we've got to retool, figure out how to retain that. The jobs are all going to be evolving. I can hardly imagine what the jobs inside an organization will look like 5 years from now, or even 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, no, I think that's a good segue into like there's new roles that are emerging, right? And so when you're looking at your workforce, you do need trainers, and that can be like actually training models or just putting together the knowledge for the automation to learn from. And Gen AI works really well with well-designed knowledge. And so if you've got people who are really knowledgeable about your organization, maybe they put together your training materials, maybe they're just amazing at communicating with your customers, that might be a great role for them. Conversation designers, anyone who knows that experience, you want to understand how those flows should behave. And that might be right up their alley because these are not as technical as they once were. So it's really just having that understanding of what good service means and how you want to do that as an organization. CX analysis. So for QA, you do it now. So you still have to keep doing that. And yes, AI is getting really good at QA, but you do need humans in the loop to make sure it's staying on point and that it's still delivering the type of customer service you have. And things happen in the business, things change. And so is it still adapting and still learning? And then when not, how do you give that loop and have it circle back onto itself? Escalation specialists like this, we're still seeing this today. There's still a lot of cases where either organizations are not comfortable with automating certain types of tasks, or there's just limitations with the tools that you have or the type of requests people have. And you want to have that special high touch, white glove service to give that empathy and handle those complex interactions. So those people are still needed there. So make sure you're propping up your people that have those skills already. And then tech liaisons, there's still, as much as it's getting less technical, you still need technical people to handle those integrations, to talk between the platforms and operations and all of that. So there are rules that are opening up in the tech world as well. So if you've got people maybe doing support and maybe the need for tech support is less now, then maybe those roles go into the more of a higher skilled technical ability. Then as far as strategies go, when you're doing all of this, I think there's many ways to do that. So you can create internal certifications, right? So what are the skills that you're expecting to have and have the people learn to do that and then track that. They benefit from having a certification, looks great on their resume, and with confidence that person now understands how to do the thing or what the goal of the thing is. And cross training between tech and ops. That world is blurring. So you have people like in the old days and back in Sally and I's early days, it was very segregated. You have the tech people working on the platform and nobody's allowed to touch it. And then the ops people on the front lines, but that is blurring heavily. And so it's pretty remarkable. These little AI black boxes are really kind of bringing those departments together, which is pretty amazing. And then when you're doing implementations, I think shadowing those processes with people outside of that team or bring them into the loop of what's being done, it just helps everybody understand what's going on and maybe allows them to see some of those opportunities there, or sort of just like how the sausage is made, if you will.
It's interesting. We have a quote here I just want to talk about for a second. I was at a CEO Coaching International conference and Jim Collins was speaking. And I think, you always hear, oh, you need the right people in the right seats on the bus. But he really spent time talking about investing in the people you already have before you kick them off the bus. And it's like, those are my words, not his. But I think that's so important right now with all of this change. You've got these amazing team members. I think the job at hand is going to be to figure out who has the skills for the new roles that are coming. So I just really like that idea. It's like, it's not about different people. It's about investing in the people you have and evolving. And
Yeah,
the biggest, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I just think it's, managing change and getting people excited about it. I think that's the hardest thing to accomplish.
And I like the idea of it being worded as an investment. Like, you've spent maybe years with these people, like adopting the culture. They've spent years sort of like just buying into the organization and working to help everybody out. And so that's a lot of time and effort to just bring in someone new that you have to then bring up to speed on the job, but also like everything that's around you. And so I think that, especially if you have a strong culture, as we do here, you don't want to lose that, right? So we have so many people that are just so dedicated. And if we can upskill them and put them into some of these new roles and just give them that new experience, I think that's amazing.
So let's talk about building a plan department by department. I will just throw out there, one of the things that I think could happen as part of this, and maybe first, is to do an inventory by department, roles and responsibilities for every role within each department, and then maybe include 10 to 20 of their key responsibilities, weight them top to bottom by whether it's where they spend their most of their time or where they have a lot of routine tasks. That will help you identify how to prioritize AI solutions throughout the organization. So that, I wouldn't say that's easy, but it's certainly easier to do that. And it, for me, I think it helps people understand roles and responsibilities is like a subset of a job description, essentially, and can actually be a simple technique to come up with a where to start, I will say.
Yeah, I think that's super smart, understanding all the tasks, what's being repetitive, like what's like consuming a lot of time, and knowing that department by department. And I think too, if your organization has grown, you may have lost touch of like the nuance of what's going on. And some of these, like this plan, you're going to have the overall company vision, but each department is going to be different. They're going to have their own different needs, their own challenges, their own inefficiencies. And so I think looking at this department with a similar plan, but likely different outcomes or different measures of success. So I think first you want to assess and align. So you want to make sure everybody's aware of the company vision, again, that transparency, but what are the biggest pain points of that department, right? So a workforce management department might have different pain points than finance, than operations. And so I think looking at that, what are the struggles and what's not working?
Exactly.
Secondly,
No, go ahead.
Okay, so then you want to prioritize use cases, and so AI is not free. Unfortunately, there still is a cost there. You're going to invest time and effort and resources and different tools that are going to help you with that. So, what's going to deliver the fastest ROI, right? So that's one measure of success. You want to make sure that you're going to put that effort in and get something that is coming out of that. I think that's really key, and again, different by department. Design and pilot. So how do you go about doing this without destroying everything, right? So you have to do this in parallel and make sure that when you make mistakes, which you will do, your operations can still go on like normal. So you wouldn't like shut everything down and switch to some tool or some platform, some process blindly. You want to make sure you're testing it, you're rolling that out, and you're making sure that you have like a rollback plan and all of that. So that's with any technology, but some of these departments may have never experienced that before. And then assess it. So you want to scale and automate this. So what worked? Where do you go next? If you've had amazing successes, is there anything else to touch on? Is there any other things that you've learned that now can apply to maybe something you didn't think was a pain point before, but now you've seen those successes and say, oh, I didn't even think about that. We can apply this here. I think that's really key, and you're going to find that a lot. The wheels keep turning, and every time you have a success, it's really quite amazing of where you see additional opportunities. And then govern and improve. So this is not a set it and forget it situation, right? So you have compliance needs in every department. What are you still staying compliant? Did someone forget? Is there a process that's in place that's new, that maybe didn't fall under the original scope? Is it ethical what you're doing? I think that's an important question for an organization to have. And of course, secure. So that falls in line with compliance, but are you giving it the data that you need and only the data that you need? And is it fall within the requirements that you have as an organization? So this is an example plan. Your organization may be different, but we find that just, I think to Sally's point, understanding those roles and responsibilities and all those tasks will help you build a right plan for your organization.
And then I just want to add, Jeff, that something that we've done, and I just have these, we all have so many examples. We did our own executive strategic planning session and use ChatGPT to give us a check on alignment. So alignment for your plan here is key in order to be successful. And you can use a tool like that just as a checkpoint. Are we aligned with our priorities and what we're doing as an organization with that task force that you have put together? That's really key. And keep checking in on that, because this is all evolving. You could come up with the perfect plan and then you need to, change it in 3 weeks because everything's moving so fast.
So fast. That is key. Is as you go through those mistakes, as you adapt, as new tools come out there, your alignment may shift. And I think it's been an interesting insight, I think, to do that, Sally. So I find that quite fascinating, and it does pull out some of your own biases, right? So if you're like trying to gauge, is that person still on board with this? Their words speak louder than their actions. So that can be quite powerful.
Yeah. So in terms of celebrating quick wins, I would say, the more voices you have in your organization, sharing even the smallest wins spreads momentum. So that's the first thing, both internal, we want to have internal, whether it's your Teams or Slack channels or your company newsletter, that you're announcing and sharing wins. And then external, if there's case studies or information or statistics that you put on your website or post on LinkedIn as a business, that sends signals to your customers, to your team, that this is part of your bigger strategy. It's not, oh, AI is here and it's gone. This is part of the future, and this is our path forward. And then that also just is important to keep reinforcing how this fits into your overarching strategy. Like if you use OKRs or the EOS system for strategic planning, that, right now you might have a whole component that's just about AI, but for sure, very quickly, that's just going to be part of your actual plan across your objectives and departments. But, getting the word out, having a lot of voices, those individuals that are a part of the process, that are being impacted, tell those stories. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Is you got to put on your optimism hat, your cup half full. In fact, you'll probably find your cup is more 3/4 full, but there is the quarter that's empty, and you can very quickly dwell on the mistakes or the challenges or what's not working. But you will see, especially with a lot of the Gen AI stuff, the wins are numerous and incremental, and celebrating that is key because it does build momentum. It creates a vibe of the energy that of this change, and I think that that's so exciting and so important to do.
So, we're not going to end on a down note, but we should talk about pitfalls. We want to talk about what to watch out for, over promising results. I would say if you're an executive, over expecting results is probably equally damaging. You just expect your team to automate 80%, just without any without any context whatsoever, just a sheer number, or you expect cost savings of 75% or whatever it is. Expectations is something to look out for. Not having any kind of change management approach, team process to manage it can certainly send things sideways quickly. And really, the most important thing, and we've talked about it already, is that frontline feedback. If you ignore, the eyes and ears of your organization in our industry, the customer service team, the agents that are talking to customers today, they need to be a part of this because they're the ones that are experiencing and have a lot of deep knowledge. And it'd be a mistake to just not include the very people that are the sort of eyes and ears of the organization.
Yeah, 1,000%. And then we've touched on this, but data privacy, it matters, as you know, in your organization. But yeah, making sure that the tools that you've embraced or that you've allowed are meeting those needs. So what are their certifications? What data are you sending into them? So you don't have to send everything in there. We're very keen on stripping out all data except for what is needed to go to these models and to understand that. This is really important for people that are using it. Like Sally was saying, like, oh, I'm going to feed this into ChatGPT. You don't want your people in your organization using a personal version of ChatGPT. I believe by default, it learns on the data that you feed it. So if you're just having fun, by all means, go great. But there is a Teams version and an enterprise level version of ChatGPT that have higher levels of compliance and privacy. They don't learn by default on your data. And one of the perks of them is you can create custom models and share them across your organization. So that's a great way to start when you're looking at department by department. You could have your workforce management ChatGPT, and they can use that internally. And the prompt behind that, the settings behind that, and you have more of a confidence that everything is meeting those privacy matters. And then best practices. I think like we talked about this, and Sally just said it there, is set expectations with everybody. Like, what are your goals? And this is going to be a moving bar, right? So I think be very realistic initially. If you're having success, then yeah, shoot that bar way up, but do not come out of there and think, oh, this is going to be 100% of everything and it's all going to be solved and our AI overlords are doing everything for us. That's not going to be the case. So being very realistic about that. Taking a pulse check is key for this because it is moving so fast. Like, what's working, what's the sentiment in the organization, what's the sentiment from a customer service perspective, if that's what you're touching on, and compliance, like, are we still being compliant? I think that's super important. Monthly, quarterly, you have to have some level of regular cadence checking in on that. And then continuous improvement. Not only are the models changing in their abilities of what they can do, and anyone who played around with, say, ChatGPT's image generation 6 months ago and now, it's night and day. It's pretty remarkable. And some of the stuff with video that Google's doing with VO, it's moving fast. So continually looking at how you can improve. Maybe it's just upgrading the resources that you have. Maybe there's a new resource available, and making sure that you have plans around those rollouts because you don't want a disruption or anything like that.
Okay. Well, here, let's wrap it up. We've gone a little long. We'll open it up to questions while we just do a quick summary here right now. But if you have questions for us, you're more than welcome to add them to the chat. And if we can't get to them in the next few minutes, we will follow up with you. And by the way, if you want Jeff and I to look at your operation, we love customer experience and looking at what is a logical approach to what can be automated or not. We're happy to talk to you. But from today's session, I would say the takeaways are buy-in, obviously, across your audiences and stakeholders is key. Making sure you have alignment with those different stakeholders. I like the idea, and we've had success with the task force. Tailoring your message really is just communication, over communicating constantly, thinking about reskilling, upskilling your existing team, and then celebrating wins across, having more voices be present, I think are kind of the key takeaways. Jeff, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. I'm a big proponent of celebrating your wins, and yeah, that alignment and setting those goals. That's why that task force is so important across all departments, because this impacts everybody, and I think it's not going away. It's just getting better. You're probably seeing that now, and it's pretty amazing. So I think, yeah, take that away as something you're going to look back on at this time period and remember it within your organization, because it's pretty pivotal.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. Let's try and squeeze in one question.
Sure.
How do you handle internal resistance from frontline agents who feel threatened by AI?
Yeah, I think so. This is, first of all, transparent, right? Let them know why you're doing it and what you're doing, right? If you're just saying, hey, we're rolling out AI, and they've been reading the headlines, they're like, oh, well, there we go. But if you're saying, hey, we were experiencing like these constraints because of tariffs, or we are rolling out this new product and it's going to take additional resources, and we need to make sure we're lean and doing that kind of thing, or we've had a lot of churn because the agents are getting a lot of repetitive tasks that over and over again, and it just kind of gets boring, and they're going off to find more interesting things. So I think understanding why you're doing and where it's going to impact that, right? So this could be, hey, we're rolling out AI. You're going to have like an agent assist tool that's going to help you turn a 10-minute interaction to a 5-minute interaction, or you're going to get more consistent QA because we're going to be rolling out AI over here, and you're going to have 100% of your interactions monitored or whatnot. So I think living in a bubble is never a good thing. And I think especially with this type of impactful change, you just want to communicate with them, address their fears, acknowledge it, and let them know what is actually happening and how they will be impacted.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. I think we'll leave it there because we went a little bit long, but we wanted to, if you do have questions, we encourage you to submit them or email us. I think we have some information. There we go, with our email addresses, our phone numbers. Again, we're happy to chat with you, answer your questions. I want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jeff, for your expertise and wisdom and shared experience. It's always great to have you and to be able to do this with you. So thank you.
Thank you. I love these conversations. They're just it's pretty exciting. I think that can be seen.
It is. So thank you very much, everyone, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.